Um, what if the very walls you built to keep the monsters out were actually made of the monsters themselves?
Yeah, that is a deeply terrifying thought.
Right. Just think about that for a second. You spend 10,000 years fortifying your civilization, turning your greatest minds and warriors into, bulwarks against the dark.
Building the ultimate defenses.
Exactly. Only to realize that the mortar holding your entire fortress together was synthesized from the exact same entropy you were trying to lock out.
It completely flips the script on how we understand survival in this
It
universe.
really does. Today, we are looking at a deeply unsettling cosmic truth. We are tearing into a stack of philosophically dense, uh, frankly, intensely fatalistic excerpts.
From a very specific text.
Yeah, from a text titled The Primordial Annihilator, Sovereigns of Chaos Undivided. And for you listening right now, consider this a masterclass in the architecture of dread.
Oh, absolutely. It is not a light read.
Not at all. And look, we aren't here to rehash basic history. You already know the stakes of the 41st millennium.
Right. The listener already knows the Imperium, they know the Emperor, and they definitely know the warp.
Exactly. Our mission today is to systematically dismantle a massive misconception about the fundamental nature of chaos itself.
Which is a huge undertaking.
It is. We want to explore what happens mechanically, psychologically, and philosophically when the ultimate forces of order are exposed as the ultimate conduits for destruction. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, to properly frame what this text is attempting to do, we have to look at the epistemological crisis it presents.
Epistemological crisis.
Right.
Okay, break that down for us.
So the text is actively stripping away the comfortable lies that the Imperium tells itself,
It's coping mechanisms.
Exactly. It isolates this cosmic struggle between the rigid, desperate structure of reality and the primordial forces of the warp, but it attacks the actual way we understand that struggle.
But the lens we view it through.
Right. Historically, imperial doctrine, and honestly, human nature in general, requires an enemy to have a face, right? A face, a name, and a logic.
We need someone to point a gun at.
Yes. We project our own geopolitical or psychological frameworks onto the warp just to make it comprehensible. But this source text rips that framework away entirely
It targets the pantheon right out of the gate.
and goes straight for the throat.
It really does. The text starts by looking at the four major chaos gods. Khorne, Siench, Nurgle, and Slaanesh.
The big four.
The big four. And immediately it points out that grouping them like this is a classic human defense mechanism. We just love putting threats into boxes.
It makes us feel safe, or at least safer.
Right. We look at the warp and say, all right, we have a god of martial rage, a god of complex schemes, a god of decay, and a god of excess.
Very neat, tidy category.
Exactly. There are four distinct, squabbling deities with different domains. It makes the threat feel manageable.
Like you're just dealing with a particularly vicious quartet of hostile nations.
Yes, like a rival empire you could theoretically negotiate with or outsmart.
What's fascinating here is how the author of this text systematically dismantles that comfort.
Oh, it completely tears it apart.
The foundational premise of Chaos Undivided is presented not as a separate faction, but as the underlying terrifying truth of the universe.
Base reality.
Right. The text argues that Khorne, Siench, Nurgle, and Slaanesh are not independent entities at all. They are not sovereign gods.
Wait, so what are they then?
They are merely masks.
Masks.
Yeah, distinct, localized expressions of a single, infinitely vast underlying power, which the text names the Primordial Annihilator.
Okay, but let me push back on that immediately.
Go for it.
Because the text makes this claim, but we know for a fact that these four entities actively wage war against each other. I mean, the Great Game is a real thing.
It is a massive documented phenomenon, yes.
Khorne actively despises Siench. Nurgle and Slaanesh are fundamentally opposed in their methodologies. So if they are just masks worn by a single entity, how does a single entity wage a cosmic war against itself?
That's a great question.
It just seems logically inconsistent. Like, why would a unified force expend so much energy fighting its own manifestations?
That is exactly the paradox the text wants us to confront, honestly. And it answers it by changing the physical analogy we use to understand the warp entirely.
Okay, how so?
We have to stop thinking of the chaos gods as generals leading armies. We have to start thinking of them through the lens of fluid dynamics.
Fluid dynamics.
Or thermodynamics. The text explicitly describes the Primordial Annihilator as a, quote, turbulent, self-destructive ocean of psychic energy.
Oh, wow. An ocean.
Right. Think about a literal ocean on a planet. You have the Gulf Stream, you have the Mariana Trench, you have massive competing thermal currents that crash into one another.
And when they crash, they create massive storms and typhoons.
Precisely. The ocean isn't at war with itself.
Right.
The ocean is the turbulence.
Okay, so a hurricane colliding with a cold front isn't two separate oceans fighting a war.
Exactly.
It's just the mechanical reality of a highly volatile, energized system trying to resolve its own internal pressures.
You nailed it. When the Imperium looks into the warp and sees Horn fighting Slaanesh, they are literally just watching two massive opposing currents of psychic resonance.
Rage and excess.
Yes, crashing into each other. Because human minds are basically incapable of processing a conscious, self-destructive ocean of pure emotion.
Our brains would just melt.
They would. So our brains filter that turbulence into localized anthropomorphic avatars. We give the hurricane a name.
We call it corn.
Exactly. We call the stagnant, toxic thermal vent Nurgle. The belief in four distinct gods is just an illusory overlay that our minds project onto a singular, catastrophic climate system.
That reframes absolutely everything. Let's explore the mechanics of that illusion for a second.
Let's do it.
Because if I'm a scholar in the Imperium, I've spent centuries cataloging the differences between these entities.
You've built your whole career on it.
I've built entire theological and military doctrines around the idea that if I can just predict the specific agenda of Tzeentch, I can outmaneuver it.
It's the only way to feel a sense of control.
Right. But if the text is right, and it's all just one primordial annihilator, then those agendas don't actually exist in a vacuum. It means there is no actual geopolitical game to win.
No, because you cannot negotiate with the climate system. You cannot outmaneuver the concept of entropy.
That is so bleak.
The text argues that the four gods are essentially just the loudest frequencies broadcasting from the exact same background radiation.
They're just the most common ways mortal minds fracture under the weight of reality.
Exactly. And the reason this realization is so devastating is that it removes any hope of exploiting divisions within the enemy.
Because there are no real divisions.
Right. If you're fighting four squabbling empires, you can theoretically ally with one to defeat another, or just wait for them to destroy each other.
Divide and conquer.
But if they are just the surface tension of a single unified ocean of annihilation, then any energy they expend fighting each other isn't a vulnerability.
It's just the engine of their existence.
It's what keeps the ocean churning.
Wow. So if the gods are just the masks, what happens when the warp stops bothering to wear a mask?
That is the big question.
Because the text transitions here into something that I found deeply chilling. It shifts from the theoretical nature of these gods to the very real physical manifestations of them.
The demons.
The demons, exactly. It points out that while the vast majority of these entities are aligned-like, they are born from those specific currents of rage or decay we just talked about.
Yeah.
There is a terrifying subset that serves the singular ocean directly.
The demons of chaos undivided.
Right. And this is where the philosophical dread becomes mechanical reality, doesn't it?
It really does. The text states that these unaligned demons are the manifestation of chaos in its, quote, purest, most terrifying form.
And we need to dissect what pure means in this specific cosmic context.
Because it doesn't mean clean.
No, definitely not clean.
It means unfiltered. It means unconstrained by a localized paradigm.
Okay, explain the mechanism of that constraint for the listener. Because if I look at a demon of corn, I'm looking at a creature made of literal rage and violence.
Yeah, a walking bloodbath.
That seems pretty unconstrained to me. Like, what is holding it back?
Well, a demon of corn is constrained by the very concept that birthed it. It is bound by the rules of martial violence, blood and skulls.
It has a specific flavor of destruction.
Yes. It operates within a specific, albeit horrifying, logical framework. A demon of Nurgle is bound to the cycle of decay and rebirth.
So they have rules.
We can call this a conceptual leash. Because they represent a specific current in the ocean, they cannot act outside the parameters of that current.
A corn demon isn't going to start casting complex spells of illusion.
Exactly. But a demon of chaos undivided has no such leash.
None at all.
None.
Yeah.
It is not an avatar of a specific emotion. It is an avatar of the underlying substrate itself, the complete and utter unmaking of reality.
Which makes me really wonder about their predictability.
They are completely unpredictable.
Right. If they don't have a specific framework, if they aren't bound by the urge to scheme or the urge to spread disease, How do they operate?
That's the terrifying part.
And the source text does this brilliant, honestly maddening thing right in this section.
Oh, the cliffhanger.
Yes. It's discussing the unparalleled terror of these unaligned entities, and it writes, the most famous of which include, and then it just hard stops.
It just cuts off.
It completely refuses to name them. It leaves us hanging over this cliff.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, is that just dramatic flair from the author? Or is there a mechanical reason why a text about knowledge would refuse to provide a name?
Oh, it is entirely mechanical, and it ties perfectly into the epistemological crisis we discussed earlier.
How so?
Well, in this universe, a name is a localized constraint.
Okay.
To name a thing in the warp is to begin the process of categorizing it, of putting a boundary around its concept.
Like putting it in a box.
Exactly. The text refuses to name the most powerful unaligned demons because to give them a title is to dilute their nature.
Their terror comes from their lack of definition.
Yes. They are the ultimate blank checks of destruction. If you encounter a force that exists purely to unravel the molecular and psychic bonds of reality, and it doesn't care about the method of that unraveling.
Doesn't demand a sword stroke.
Right, it doesn't demand a plague, it just demands non-existence. How do you even formulate a defense?
You can't.
Yeah.
You just can't.
No, you can't.
It's like trying to build a shield against the concept of math breaking down.
That's a great way to put it.
If 2 + 2 suddenly equals a swarm of teeth, your shield doesn't matter because the physical laws governing the shield have ceased to function.
The rules of reality are just gone.
That's what we're talking about here. These unaligned demons aren't just foot soldiers. They are walking localized zones of fundamental systemic collapse.
Exactly. And their very existence serves as the definitive proof that the Pantheon is an illusion.
Proof of the singular ocean.
Yes. If the four gods were truly sovereign, independent entities, a demon would have to belong to one of them. It would have to draw its energy from a specific localized source.
You would need a patron.
Right. The fact that an entity can exist, draw immense power, and sustain itself without any alignment to Khorne, Seiche, Nurgle, or Slaanesh proves that there is a deeper, unified reservoir of power.
It bypasses the masks entirely.
It proves that the primordial annihilator is the base reality and everything else is just surface turbulence.
Okay, so we've established the ocean, and we've established the unaligned horrors that swim in the deepest parts of it.
The real nightmares.
The real nightmares. But the text doesn't stop at demons born naturally from the warp, does it?
No, it brings it much closer to home.
It takes this concept of pure, undivided chaos
Hmm.
and applies it to the Imperium itself, and it focuses on the demon Primarchs.
This is the pivot where the text transitions from cosmic dread to just acute psychological tragedy.
It gets so personal.
The demon Primarchs are the absolute apex of the text's argument.
For you listening, we need to really strip down what a Primarch is, conceptually, before we talk about their fall.
We have to understand the baseline.
Right. These were the Emperor's masterworks. They weren't just generals or really powerful soldiers. They were demigods, engineered with hyper-dense physical and psychic architecture.
The pinnacle of human creation.
They were literally designed to be the ultimate operating system for the fragile order of reality. They were the anchors holding the walls of the universe together.
They were the physical embodiment of the Imperium's fundamental philosophy,
Which is?
that through sheer force of will, intellect, and genetic perfection, order can permanently conquer entropy.
Right. So normally if you build a super system like that, you assume its greatest threat is an external virus.
Something foreign getting in?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I want to suggest a different analogy for what this text is describing. The fall of the Primarchs isn't a computer virus.
What is it then?
It's an autoimmune disease.
Oh, wow.
Imagine the human body. The immune system is incredibly powerful, designed with complex, interlocking defenses specifically to identify and destroy chaos, in this case, pathogens.
Right. It's built to maintain order in the body.
But in an autoimmune crisis, the system doesn't get hacked from the outside. Its own internal logic inverts.
It turns on itself.
The very cells designed with the highest capacity for search and destroy suddenly look at the body's own organs and say, this is the anomaly, this must be eradicated.
That is terrifying.
The power doesn't change, but the target does. And because it's the immune system, the body has absolutely no defense against it. That's what happens when a Primarch falls.
That is a profoundly accurate way to look at the mechanics of their corruption. Honestly, it perfectly explains the source text's use of a very specific phrase.
Which phrase?
The author describes them as the ones who fell the hardest.
The hardest.
And we have to ask why they fell the hardest. It's not just because they were physically powerful, it's because of their structural rigidity.
Their capacity for order?
Yes. If you build a mind that is an absolute unyielding monolith of order, and you expose it to a force that fundamentally breaks the laws of physics and morality, that mind doesn't just bend.
It shatters.
It shatters entirely. And the psychic vacuum created by a demigod's worldview shattering is so massive that it pulls in an unimaginable volume of warp energy.
It's like the sheer density of their original purpose acts as a gravity well for the opposite concept.
Yes. Their capacity for extreme order is exactly what gave them the capacity for extreme chaos.
It's two sides of the same coin.
And the text describes their current state using two distinct titles, which I think are brilliant.
Broken gods and eternal slaves.
Exactly.
I really want to dig into those titles, because on the surface, broken gods and eternal slaves sounds completely contradictory.
It does.
If you are a god, you have ultimate agency. If you're a slave, you have none. How do those two concepts coexist mechanically within these beings?
It's a localized paradox that perfectly illustrates the nature of the primordial annihilator.
Okay, walk me through it.
Well, they are broken gods in the physical realm of the 41st millennium. Because they were originally demigods of reality, they retain an immense, horrifying level of agency and destructive power when they manifest in the physical universe.
They still command legions?
They shatter planets. They are the most devastating champions the Imperium has ever faced. They wield godlike influence over the material plane.
Right. So that's the god part.
But their internal architecture, their souls, for lack of a better term, has been hollowed out and completely filled by the warp.
So the eternal slave aspect is their internal state.
Exactly.
They traded their fundamental autonomy for unlimited power.
Yes. They no longer possess the capacity to choose order. They are utterly subjugated by the turbulent ocean.
They're just conduits now.
They act as the most efficient, high-capacity conduits for the primordial annihilator because their original architecture was designed to channel massive amounts of energy.
The warp just swapped out the frequency.
That's exactly it. They are slaves to their own conceptual inversion.
And the text points out that in this era, the 41st millennium, these fallen Primarchs represent the absolute pinnacle of undivided forces.
The absolute zenith of it.
And this is what blows my mind. Why does a corrupted, genetically engineered human represent the pure, undivided essence of chaos better than a demon that was literally born in the warp?
Because a naturally born demon only proves that the warp is dangerous in a vacuum.
Right, it just proves there are monsters out there.
It proves that there are predators in the dark. But a corrupted Primarch proves something much worse.
What does it prove?
It proves that the dark can consume the light and use it as a weapon.
Oh, wow.
If the primordial annihilator can reach into reality, take the absolute zenith of human engineering, the very beings designed to be immune to chaos, and effortlessly twist them into its most perfect vessels.
It proves that there is no safe harbor.
None. It proves that the very concept of order is permeable.
It's corruptible.
The demon Primarchs are the ultimate trophies. They are the undeniable evidence that the primordial annihilator is the dominant force in the universe, and reality is just a temporary, localized anomaly.
That brings us to the psychological warfare aspect of this, which I think is almost worse than the physical threat.
It is entirely soul-crushing.
Put yourself in the boots of an imperial citizen or a planetary governor. Your entire culture, your religion, your daily survival is predicated on the belief that the Emperor's design is flawless.
You pray to these figures.
Right. You look at statues of the Primarchs as your saviors, and then you find out that the things tearing apart the galaxy, the things orchestrating the end of your civilization, are those exact same saviors.
The ones who are supposed to protect you.
The psychological toll of that isn't just demoralizing. It's conceptually annihilating. How do you maintain a defensive posture when your ultimate boogeyman is wearing the face of your founding father?
You don't. You just don't. And that is exactly the conclusion the source text drives toward in its final paragraph.
The final nail in the coffin.
Exactly. The text isolates this specific horror. We've talked about the ocean of psychic energy. We've talked about the unaligned demons that act as blank checks of destruction.
Right.
But the text states unambiguously that the true existential threat to the Imperium isn't the alien. It isn't the mutant.
It isn't even the naturally occurring heretic,
No, the ultimate threat is their own broken, vengeful creations.
because those creations know exactly where the weak points in the fortress are. They built the fortress.
They laid the bricks, exactly. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the text is making a much more profound philosophical statement here.
What is the author ultimately claiming?
The author claims that the existence of the demons of chaos undivided, and specifically the Daemon Primarchs, proves a terrifying truth.
Okay.
That order is an illusion.
Order is an illusion. I want to pause and let that sit with you for a moment, because it's one thing to say order is fragile, right? Or order is difficult to maintain.
We all know order takes work.
Exactly. It's a completely different philosophical weight to declare that order itself is fundamentally a hallucination. How does the text justify that massive leap?
It justifies it through the lens of entropy.
Entropy, okay.
The Imperium is built on the belief that order is the natural state of a perfected universe, and chaos is a corruption of that state.
Like chaos is the invader.
It's a very human-centric way of viewing reality. We build a house, and we consider the house the correct state of the materials, while the wind and rain trying to rot the wood are the intruders.
Right. We assume structure is the baseline and decay is the anomaly.
But the text of the Primordial Annihilator argues the exact opposite.
It flips the baseline.
It argues that the endless churning insanity of the warp is the baseline reality of existence.
The turbulent ocean is the natural state.
Yes. Therefore, the fragile order of reality isn't a permanent structure. It's just a temporary, highly localized dam built in the middle of a cosmic tsunami.
A dam that is under constant pressure.
Huge amounts of pressure. It requires constant, massive amounts of energy to maintain. And because the fundamental nature of the universe is entropic, that dam is mathematically guaranteed to fail.
Wow. So when the text says order is an illusion, it means that the Imperium's belief that they can achieve a permanent victory is a delusion.
A total delusion.
They aren't building a lasting empire, they're just furiously treading water.
Treading water until they drown, yes.
Ah.
And the Demon Primarchs are the ultimate proof of that illusion.
Because they were the strongest parts of the dam.
Exactly. If the most perfect, most resilient anchors of order ever conceived could be so thoroughly broken and inverted, it means the foundation of reality is inherently flawed.
The materials used to build the dam are soluble in the ocean.
Beautifully put. The belief that you can impose rational structure on a universe that is fundamentally irrational is the actual illusion.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Let's bring this down to ground level.
Let's apply it.
Imagine living in a reality where the universe isn't just apathetic to your survival, but actively, structurally opposed to it.
It wants you gone.
And worse, it has a twisted sense of irony. It doesn't just crush you with a rock. It takes your greatest tool, the thing you spent millennia perfecting, and it uses that specific tool to dismantle you.
The ultimate betrayal.
The Primordial Annihilator isn't just an invading army. It's a systemic rot that utilizes your own immune system to kill you. The very laws of physics and morality you rely on are just waiting to be bent and broken by a force you can't even fully comprehend.
And that is the core of cosmic horror.
It really is.
It's not about jump scares or monsters in the dark. It's about the sudden, crystalline realization of your own utter insignificance and inevitable unmaking.
The existential dread.
The text synthesizes all of this perfectly. The belief in the four squabbling gods is just a human coping mechanism for a species that cannot comprehend its own doom.
We just want to name the hurricane.
The unaligned demons are the raw, unmasked face of that doom, operating without constraints.
The blank checks.
But the Demon Primarchs are the ultimate, irrefutable proof of its absolute power. The horror isn't just the physical destruction they cause in the 41st millennium.
It's what they represent.
The true horror is the realization that the chaotic ocean of psychic energy will eventually claim everything, and it will do so by turning Order's greatest champions into the architects of their own civilization's demise.
The ultimate betrayal. The universe weaponizing your best intentions against you.
It's incredibly grim.
We've covered an immense amount of dense, frankly terrifying ground today. Let's take a breath and recap the trajectory of this deep dive.
Probably a good idea.
We started by examining the Pantheon, taking the four distinct Chaos Gods Khorne, Tsiensh, Nurgle, and Slaanesh, and shattering the illusion of their sovereignty.
Ripping off the masks.
We revealed them to be nothing more than surface turbulence, masks worn by a singular, self-destructive ocean known as the Primordial Annihilator. We explored how the Imperium's categorization of them is just a psychological defense mechanism against the infinite.
A way to pretend we have control.
From there, we looked at the entities that don't bother wearing the masks. The unaligned demons of chaos undivided.
The things with no conceptual leash.
The pure, untethered manifestations of entropy that answer to no single master, proving the unified nature of the warp and acting as localized zones of uncreation.
Systemic collapse walking around on two legs.
And finally, we dissected the tragic, systemic failure of the demon Primarchs. We used the autoimmune analogy to understand how the Emperor's greatest, most structured creations were fundamentally inverted.
The ones who fell the hardest.
We explored the mechanics of how a demigod becomes a broken god and an eternal slave, acting as the ultimate conduit for the primordial annihilator. Their fall cements the text's final, devastating thesis, that order itself is a temporary illusion in a universe driven by churning insanity.
It is an incredibly bleak, honestly masterfully constructed philosophical argument.
It really leaves no room for hood.
It leaves the reader with no safe harbor. But as we synthesize all of this, there's a lingering, provocative implication hidden in the negative space of the text.
Oh, I like the sound of this.
It's something the author doesn't explicitly state, but it is the logical conclusion of everything we've just discussed regarding the Primarchs.
I can feel a massive paradigm shift coming. What are you seeing in the negative space?
Well, let's look at the causal relationship between order and chaos that we've established.
Okay, let's do it.
We agree that the Primarchs were the Emperor's greatest, most perfect creations, designed with hyperdense physical and psychic architecture to uphold the fragile order of reality.
Yes, the ultimate anchors of the dam.
And yet we also agree that this exact architecture made them the ultimate, most powerful, high-capacity vessels for the primordial annihilator.
Right, their capacity for structure became a vacuum for entropy.
But if they were truly fundamentally opposite, why did the puzzle pieces fit so perfectly?
Oh.
Why was the architecture of ultimate order so easily adapted to channel ultimate chaos?
That is a very unsettling question.
I'm asking this. Does the capacity for such absolute seamless corruption imply that the blueprint for pure, undivided chaos was actually hidden inside the blueprint for ultimate order all along?
What?
If the defenders of reality are the most effective, most natural weapons against it, are the Emperor's vision of rigid order and the turbulent, self-destructive ocean of the warp actually drawing from the exact same fundamental source?
Oh, man. You just pulled the rug out from under the entire universe.
It changes the whole board.
Yeah, it changes everything. That implies that the Emperor didn't just build a dam to hold back the ocean. He used frozen ocean water to build the dam.
Exactly.
If the structural integrity of the greatest beings of order is fundamentally compatible with the purest essence of chaos, it means there is no actual binary.
It's a closed loop.
The call isn't just coming from inside the house. The house itself is made of the anomaly.
The materials of reality are intrinsically woven with the threads of their own annihilation.
That is an incredibly heavy thought to leave you with, but that is the nature of the primordial annihilator. It forces you to look at the walls keeping you safe and wonder when they are going to wake up. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the reality around you. Don't trust the stability of the ground you walk on, and we will catch you on the next one.